Hello, hello, guys. Another great day at the polls today. I hope that you guys have either made a plan to vote for sure or made a plan to volunteer. I think if we all agree that we need to change the schools for the better, we need to change the state, certainly the country, the least you could do, right, is find 2 to 10 hours a week, right? Well, we only have less than a week, but 2 to 10 hours between now and election day to work as a poll greeter at an early voting location, or importantly, on November 8th. We need you to come to the polls. We need you to spend several hours working. And a lot of you guys have told me that you're getting the day off by just asking for it. A lot of employers are willing to give you time to do your civic duty and to help others do their civic duty to vote. So ask your employer. What can they say? No? Come on. Ask them to do it. So anyway, so let me tell you, there's a tremendous amount of enthusiasm going on all across the state. Let me tell you about what I've done today. Today, I went to 3 different locations. So I started my day today early this morning in Charlotte. So worked at a polling location in Charlotte, and I can tell you, I spoke with a lot of voters and a lot of actually independent voters who were very willing to engage with me on two issues. School safety. So that's an issue that they're very concerned with. And I know a lot of the people that are working on our side have a lot of information to give. We can't, take 20 minutes to give it, but if you've got some top line statistics on what's going on in the schools and how your candidate can make it better, voters are very receptive. So school safety is number one. Number two, people are very concerned about what they've been reading in the news about the lowest performing test scores for North Carolina children in over 20 years. Is something that almost all the voters know about. How do I know? Either they brought it up with me in Charlotte, or I was able to just kind of cue them up and say, have you heard? All of them knew. And so I think that this is a good way to sort of get beyond the politics, because people recognize that we have to keep our schools safe, and schools have to do what they say they're going to do, right? And educate children. I think voters across the board, they know that that's not happening. So my next stop was Cabarrus County. I told you guys I was going to go there to support one of our volunteers, and that's exactly what I did. So maybe you're following this story, maybe not, but there is a candidate running for House 73. That's in Cabarrus County, for those of you that maybe have moved here or you don't know. So Cabarrus County, and her name is Diamond Stanton Williams. Again, she's coming in for House 73. She's running against one of our favorite candidates. That's Brian Echevarria, who is a champion for families, obviously a champion for CRT. Anyway, Miss Williams felt it necessary to go to her magistrate, down at the magistrate in Cabarrus County. She said that she felt threatened, a fear for her life, threatened, because in the bulk of her complaint, this is Miss Williams here, the bulk of her complaint is that a volunteer was staring at her. She mentioned that 5 times in the complaint, and that she feared for her life. So there was a hearing this morning, and Miss Williams, her attorney, she got an attorney, I guess, for this, continued the case. It will be heard in December, but I hope that Miss Williams will realize that, guess what? When you're in public office, I have news for you. You're going to get stared at. You're going to have people say mean things to you. You're going to have people criticize you and disagree with you. It's kind of part of the job. It's called an occupational hazard. So I recommend that Miss Stanton Williams, who is already a politician, she's already serving the town council in Harrisburg, I think that she should develop tougher skin. And I think she did this maliciously. I really do. While talking to some voters in Cabarrus, but I want to tell you about another situation going on in Cabarrus. Last night, Laura Blackwell, she is the co-chair for the Cabarrus County School Board. She's right here on the left, you'll see. This is our ticket, by the way, for school board in Cabarrus County, Blackwell, Turner, Freeman ticket. And I'm going to explain one of the reasons why here. So last night, there was a special school board meeting called in Cabarrus County at 5 o'clock, the second of such meetings, to censor Miss Blackwell. She's here on the left with a maroon jacket. This is the chair of Cabarrus County School Boards by the name of Holly Grimsley. Holly Grimsley is what I call a trans Republican. That's right. She claims to be a Republican when it fits her. I think she's Republican fluid because Miss Grimsley unsuccessfully tried to unseat Laura Blackwell because, get this, she exposed the fact that the school district has books that are pretty inappropriate and wanted to let the parents know about the books. And she did something very audacious. She removed all the children out of the school board meeting one night. She actually read the contents of the book herself. It's the first time I actually heard of a school board candidate taking the bull by the horns and reading that. So Miss Holly Grimsley, again, I'm going to put her picture up here, is a trans Republican. Don't know what her pronouns are. Trans Republican, which underscores the need for this ticket, because in Cabarrus County, just because you have an R behind your name doesn't mean that you're going to act accordingly, right? And that's why there's a couple names on the ballot that claim to be Republican. We endorse those candidates. Why? Because we kind of know what we're going to get from them. So Holly Grimsley brought up a censure vote on Laura Blackwell, who is running for re-election. I encourage you to vote for her. And the other school board members weren't having it. And that censure request failed. And I'm glad that it did, because I think we can all agree we need grownups in the room here on the school board, in the state house, in DC. We are lacking people that are willing to stand up and say, you know what, you can censure me, but I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to stand my ground. This is wrong. The nonsense about banning books is ridiculous. I mean, look, let's take Cabarrus County, all of their libraries, right? Let's take each one in the district. Now, you can't put all the books in the world into that library, right? There's only a certain amount. A tiny percentage of books ever made can be put in there, right? It's called curating. So grown-ups in the room need to pick the right books to feature. And just because, I mean, look, the books behind me, I mean, they're great books. Thomas Sowell, I have almost every one of them, etc. There may not be enough room in the library for them, and that's okay. It doesn't mean the books are banned. It's just either age inappropriate or it doesn't fit the school or whatever it is, right? So this banning book stuff is nonsense. It's a matter of picking the right books for that population. I was at the polls today in Cabarrus County, and I'm telling you what I heard from everyone, and I don't care what their political stripe is. There's no room in Cabarrus County libraries for these books. There's no room for them. So our side has always welcomed the left to put in any books they want in their home library. Buy 10 of them. I don't care. I mean, if you ask a leftist what kind of books that they want to ban from the library, I guarantee you that anything that's Trump related, you can bet your bottom dollar there's not going to be room for that book. What about the Rush Limbaugh series that he did for kids? I'll bet you there won't be enough room for that book. What about copies of the Bible? In some libraries, I'll bet you leftists won't find room for that book, right? So leftists will curate the books that they want. It doesn't make children and parents feel comfortable when these books depicting gay sex, straight sex, bestiality, incest. I'm not joking. It doesn't make kids feel comfortable with that or families, and it's just common sense. So anyway, I digress. All right. So I want to tell you about the last place I went to. Today I went and I had some very good conversations in Davidson County. I had great conversations with folks that worked at schools. A lot of teachers had kind of a listening session, if you will, bus drivers and folks that lived, just in the area. This is an issue that came front and center last week, and it was this: Davidson County schools to reconsider throwing away high school lunches for free lunch or cash. It sounds pretty horrible, right? I mean, does it sound good that if somebody can't afford lunch, that their food's thrown away, right? Well, let me tell you about this story. I feel very moved to tell this story because of some of the things I heard from teachers, and I didn't like it. So I guess a guy running for county commissioner, a real bomb thrower that doesn't get anything done, just raises a bunch of hell. He went to the news station and said, hey, we found this email from another bomb thrower, right? We found this email, news media, and it turns out that a cafeteria manager wrote this email and said, hey, if kids can't pay for lunch, we had free lunch for 2 years or what have you. And now kids have to start paying for lunch. And we've given, parents 11 weeks of notes going home, et cetera, that they're going to have to pay for their lunch, or we cannot do this for free. Well, apparently get this, here's the outrageous part. The county commissioner was finger pointing to the school board saying, oh my God, you are so mean for doing that, knowing full well that the county commissioner is the one with the checkbook. Let me tell you how it works. About 11% of every school district, 11% of the budget roughly is federal. 65% is from the state. So a bulk of it is from the state. The rest is county commissioner. I hate to tell you this, but school boards, they don't have a checkbook. They don't have a purse. They do a budget to project how much money they're going to need, right? And outside of that, they're out of luck. So I heard estimate from somebody that worked at the food services that it was like, I don't know, $21,000 a month to have to pay for these lunches should students not pay for it, or the county commissioners not pay for it. So this county commissioner said, hey, school board, you guys are mean, knowing full well that he's the one with the purse strings. Now, were there mistakes made? I feel, who's perfect, right? I think they got the policy worked out, but that's not as important as what I'm going to tell you. The guy who wrote this email, who I think he admitted that it wasn't the best worded email. He's the cafeteria manager for the district. He has gotten death threats. I read them. People wrote in that someone should rape his daughter and his wife. He should burn in hell. This is insanity. This is so wrong. The people that wrote these things that are doing these things should absolutely be held responsible. But I can't totally let this county commissioner off the hook, who's also running. Shame on him. Shame on him. Nobody is perfect. But if you're going to sit there and railroad good people who work in these schools, are they perfect? No, nobody is. But if you're going to put our good employees out there, our good teachers, our good school workers out there, and let them twist in the wind while you're sitting there pointing the finger, not telling everybody that it's your role, it's your job to make sure extra money is in the budget for that food, shame on you. Teachers should not be treated like this. School cafeteria workers that we need, people in food services, they should not be treated like this. This is a terrible thing that's happened. And this is Davidson County, everybody. So I want you to, when you hear stories of people that they don't go to the appropriate channel, they just go right in and they don't know the story, right? And they want to hang our teachers and our school staff out to dry. Be careful of that, right? Be careful of that. Put blame where it belongs. All right. So I just had to bring that in, but whether it's Davidson or Cabarrus County or Charlotte, a lot of energy around protecting our schools. And I mean, rank and file voters, all of them, whether they are 70, there is top of mind. So now it's sort of permeated the American psyche, the voter, that, wow, these schools are important. I may be 70 and not have grandkids, or I might be 20 and not have kids or whatever. Everyone recognizes it's a problem. They're very worried about school safety. And they're very worried about these scores. So I think these are great things that we can educate voters about, and we can all come together on that. And so that's what I wanted to share with you. Remember, 2 to 10 hours. I want you guys to go out there and volunteer, even if it's before you vote. Let's say you're going to vote at noon. You ask the boss if you can get off at 9:30, be down there from 10. Volunteer. It's not enough to vote. Volunteer. Need to know who to volunteer for? Hit us up, edfirstnc.org. Email. All right. Have a good night, guys. Get out there and vote.